And again, thank you to you. And also thank you to Maria, the first fireside chat we had with Maria and Inetum. And now let's continue with the proof of trust. So we have here today with us, we have Sakhib Waseem, who is Chief Innovation Officer at the Proof of Trust. And we have Kevin Gill from IBM. He is CTO blockchain in IBM UK and Europe. So please welcome Sakhib. Are you there?
I'm absolutely here. Thank you, Victoria.
Fantastic.
Thank you to everybody for participating and listening to what we have to say today.
Great. And also, Kevin, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, and I'm looking forward to having a fireside chat with you all.
Fantastic. Just one thing, guys. I know you've been very concentrated listening to all the information provided, but I mean, feel free. I have this lovely, can you see what it says? It says, do you see what it says? EBC.
Yeah. EBC
hashtag,
Talk.
hashtag EBC Talks. Feel free to do a post, because it's always exciting to see that on social media. Okay, so I mean, I also want to thank you to the Proof of Trust, because they are one of our partners of this event. This would not be possible without them, and also to Inetum. As you know, things will not evolve if there is no, on one side, human capital, but also proper capital. Everything has a cost. So thank you very much. And now, I mean, to start with the fireside chat, I have some questions prepared. And I would like to ask you, Sakhib, Kevin, sorry, I want to talk to you first.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would like to know, how did IBM and the Proof of Trust decide to collaborate? Because, you know, we all know IBM, but we don't know yet, all of us, the Proof of Trust. So why? How did you decide to initiate?
So let me give a little bit of background. So as you introduced myself, CTO for blockchain. Prior to that, I've spent, well, tens of years in financial services and other industries delivering marketplaces. So delivering financial services exchanges or other multi-dimensional marketplaces, which is where blockchain is exciting, because the key role is about establishing business networks and marketplaces. So last summer, Sakhib, a CIO, and the CEO, Dean Armstrong, who is a QC and barrister, came into our offices, and we do quite a lot of work with startups, looking at marketplaces and new ideas and how they work with blockchain technology and how we can actually work together and cooperate. So Sakhib and Dean came in, and they brought what's really a legal services proposition around smart contracts for blockchain. Now, I mentioned about my background in marketplace exchanges, it's starting in messaging technology and moving on to blockchain. One of the interesting things about blockchain is the fact that you can execute a trade, you can make something happen at a point in time. However, one of the challenges with it is, if you just trust a programmer to code that up, it may not have the legal rigor that traditional hard copy documents would have had. And if we take some examples, so I mentioned about exchanges, and if you take Lloyd's of London and bordereaux, when you look at those, there's probably several inches worth of contracts that have had a lot of lawyers pouring all over them, and they will have got things right. They will have put metadata around the actual execution that enables redress in the event of later disputes. Now, if you look at one of our big business networks that IBM runs, so TradeLens, it's done 1.5 billion transactions in the first year. It's got 15 key documents that are executed via smart contracts around each shipping container that's shipped. So just trusting to a programmer to get that right probably doesn't give you the recourse in the event that goods arrive late in port and they're perished. So Sakhib and Dean came in and they said, we've got a proposition here. It's not just a solution, it's a marketplace as well. And what they've got are a set of patented algorithms that enable, at the point a smart contract is written, for delegates to actually do a review and make sure they've got that rigor that stands the test of time. Further down the line, when you look at any disputes that might come around that, that same marketplace can actually provide dispute resolution. And it provides a similar process and similar level of rigor as going to court. Now, in the COVID world, where courts are constrained, it has even more value at this stage. So we could really see the value for big business networks and what proof of trust brought to the equation. And what we've actually done is, over the last year and a half, we've worked with Sakhib and Dean and team to build the platform. So the platform's built, and what it does is it records during smart contract review or delegate review all of the key attributes of the transaction. It's open, it uses Hyperledger Fabric at the back end, and actually it goes through the patented algorithms and arrives at a consensus. And this is where Dean comes in. Dean, QC, head of chambers, and his team have created all of the business rules. And for each use case, there is a category of the dispute, and there's a killer question that comes with the dispute or the resolution that says, can the delegates check on whatever the question is? The actions are tracked. And for instance, we built something and we've demonstrated it to the Prime Minister of Bermuda around shipping. And this is looking at registering of ships. And what we've done is we've built the ability to register a ship. We track that on the blockchain. Each delegate is given a series of actions to undertake. And for instance, the delegates might be legal services, or they might actually be surveyors. They might be shipping or insurance SMEs. They all conduct a review at the same time. The algorithm brings it together, and then you get the agreement that it should be registered. And further down the line, you can use the same team to do the dispute resolution. So as I said, it's built, it's open. So it comes with a client front end that can be tailored. It also is API centric. So being written in Hyperledger Fabric, it's open source. It's also multi-cloud enabled. So on top of Kubernetes 1.14, it runs on pretty much all of the cloud flavors that are out there. But not only can it be used for Fabric, but it can be used for any ledger at the front end, or any legacy application can call it. So that's where our relationship is spawned from. We built it and we're ready to go, looking for more use cases to take to market. So I think you've probably got more questions for Sakhib about what it does rather than the product and what we've developed.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Thank you. Yeah, let's continue with Sakhib. So Sakhib, you were there? Yes, yep. Fantastic. So maybe it would be interesting for the audience to understand a bit better who the proof of trust are. I mean, who are you behind? And why is your solution and marketplace important to all of us in the blockchain space, and even in various sectors?
That's a great question. So first, the proof of trust, we're an Irish company. We're based out of Dublin. We've got engagements all over the world, as Kevin mentioned, spanning from the US to the Middle East, Bermuda, of course, and with corporates, governments, and NGOs. But 2021 for us is a major focus on European engagement. So I think being here today is quite significant for us. Also to note, we tend to dual list on the London Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ in Q1 of 2021. So lots of exciting news to come. But what proof of trust really has, as Kevin touched on quite briefly, is we have the only globally patented algorithm for distributed consensus. And that's quite significant. What it means is we can take in any kind of information, be it blockchain or non-blockchain. We can categorize that information, and then we can disperse it to multiple different specialists who can cast their own individual view of it in a completely anti-collusive, insulated manner, so highly secure. We allow each of those individuals to cast their view on it, cast a vote, if you will, determine whether it's acceptable or not. And then we use our consensus algorithm to bring all that together into a binary decision, which we can use as a full recommendation or even as a legal outcome when it comes to commercial or contractual disputes. But it's really interesting when we start to talk about data accuracy and the management of information as well. I mean, how do we verify that information being submitted to a blockchain is valid and just? And that's where we come in, particularly in the governmental space where we look at potential fraud issues. Proof of trust can be integrated as a precursory layer to intercept fraudulent transactions. And in the commercial world, it means that we can effectively resolve disputes in a really fast, fair, independent and cost-effective manner. and we're completely digital. So we're not encumbered by global pandemics or issues that we see are quite prevalent today. In terms of what we're focused on, from a governmental perspective, clearly fraud reduction is a big issue in the EU. There's around 160 billion euros of VAT fraud annually, and we believe that we're well positioned to resolve and reduce that number right down through our patented algorithm. Secondarily is smart governments. So if we think about how distributed consensus can start to bring individual ministries together for complex approval and processes, we've got a really efficient way of managing that. Third, we have COVID and scaling for pandemic response. So how do we equip governments with the bandwidth to scale up really quickly when they have significant issues, such as the UK, which has about £48 billion of suspected fraud as a result of stimulus packages associated with COVID. So how do we really equip governments with the ability to scale up really quickly in a safe and secure manner, allowing that specialist marketplace to engage and review that in a really safe way? And then finally, in the commercial sense, contractual disputes. Billions of years are poured into contractual disputes, and we allow companies to engage in growth. We take risk and liability of balance sheets and pull that back into the hands of those who need it. We provide a faster and fairer, more cost-effective way for companies to address them. I think what's important to understand is that as we see the broader use of blockchain, smart contracts in commercial and governmental use, there are a couple of things that are really important. Firstly, the rigor. We need to ensure that the technology also has the legal framework and accessibility to ensure that the technology elements are also in parallel and in tune with current legal frameworks. And then, of course, dispute resolution. We can't always encode all of the issues that may arise in any kind of engagement, be it commercial or governmental. So it's important that we have a really fast and digital mechanism to alleviate that, but also bring that home with our solution. I think that's pretty much a whistle-stop version of what it is that we're doing, why we're so important to the world, and a few things that we're currently working on right now.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sakhib. I think then maybe it would be interesting to understand a bit better. Maybe this question goes for you, Kevin. What industries and marketplaces you can support working together with the proof of trust?
Sure. So as we've already mentioned, this is about smart contracts and it's about subsequent disputes. And so things like high value individual disputes or B2B disputes are clearly going to be a target. So for insurance, we've actually already built something around high value claims. So if there's a personal injury claim, which can be very high value, it can take a lot of time to resolve. You might start with the claim handler and the claimant themselves trying to resolve it between themselves. It might have a couple of iterations and not really get anywhere. And what the proof of trust offers is a marketplace-wide solution that enables the claimant to actually raise their dispute and for external delegates to actually interject and go through the claim to understand all of the key attributes of the claim. And as I said, multiple delegates at the same time can look at the same case and they all come up with they respond to the overall question they're being asked. They look at the key documents and that's all tracked, and then the algorithms bring that back together. So that then goes back to the claim handler, and there may be agreement at that stage. It could go another level. If the claimant and claim handler still can't achieve a resolution, it can go back to a super delegate and they can actually kick off another iteration of the review. Now, generally, the consensus will be achieved and the response back will have similar legal rigor to the court's process. So it is something that is an independent arbitration process. And what that enables is actually taking liabilities off the book early. So for the insurer, they can actually not have liabilities on their balance sheet for what can take years to resolve. For the claimant, it offers them the benefit of getting a resolution quickly. So that's one example. And similarly to high value personal injury, the same thing can be covered for B2B insurance, and a lot of insurance is a multi-party process. When you look at things like trade finance, trade credit risk insurance, they all have similar handoffs. So certainly in the public sector, there are a lot of domains that have that kind of dispute. Also supply chain, so goods in transit. I mentioned about trade lens as an example of the kind of application. Anything that has high value goods or a trade execution dossier that might involve finance, insurance, or multiple dimensions. And again, that can cover ports and borders and regulatory documents as well. So that is quite relevant. And then when you move into the government world, particularly in emerging markets where there might not be such good access to justice, what this actually enables is governments to actually invoke a dispute resolution around that. And in some geographies, things like promissory notes, what would have been more financial services products, are actually handled by government. Sakhib mentioned about tax fraud, so whether it be VAT carousel fraud, or whether it be COVID furlough bounce back, or eat out to help out type loans, and again, it's in the tens of billions in each country that the frauds, and it's in the tens of thousands of cases. And what that enables a government to do is to actually look at the proof of trust marketplace and all of their delegates to actually have a much wider portfolio of resolution promptly of those high amounts of fraud cases. And then the last one is smart government. So intergovernment handoffs and perhaps disputes you can apply the process to. But we've talked a lot about the public sector version of this. We've actually created a version that can be landed in a government environment, dropped behind the government firewall, so that it can actually be used for intra-government disputes as well. So again, a whistle-stop tour, but we're really looking for any dispute-related use case that this might be applied to.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. So I think before going a little bit closer to the end, I can see that Fritz has a question. Fritz was actually my teacher during a blockchain summer school at Copenhagen Business School in the summer of 2018. Is that correct, Fritz? I think so, right? If I remember. Maybe Kevin or Sakhib, would you like to answer this question? The question is, what is the legal framework for the proof of trust? Does it have legal standing like the Chinese internet courts? Or
absolutely. I think if we've got pre-agreed terms for arbitration between any kind of party, proof of trust can be applied. It's also extra-jurisdictional, is something that our CEO likes to talk about quite well. I'm certainly not the legal expert, but we can talk about that at length with our CEO at some point. Certainly, we feel that this is the future of managing those contractual disputes in a digital manner, and it can always be a binding as long as all parties pre-consent to this as a notion of arbitration. That's just in the commercial sector, but as we've talked about, there are much broader use cases, and each one has its own legal stipulation as to how it can be carried out effectively.
Thank you, Sakhib. Have we answered your question, Fritz? I hope so. Okay, so yeah, I mean, so how can we get to know more about the proof of trust? I mean, how do we get started with your solution if any one of us would like to get more our hands dirty with the proof of trust?
Certainly everyone can go and visit our website and register for further interest. That's www.theproofoftrust.com. We're also available on social media, so at The Proof of Trust, pretty much on all platforms. You can reach out to us in a more friendly manner if you wish to, less formal. But yeah, if you wish to engage in any understanding of our technology and platform, the best place to go is to our website, where you can fill out a form and we'll be in touch pretty rapidly. Actually, we pride ourselves on prompt response to any kind of questions that are served to us. But I would certainly recommend that you register interest, stay abreast of all of our information that's upcoming. Certainly we have lots of exciting news about potential partnerships in the future, and also our listing on the stock exchanges as well.
Thank you. Yeah, and very, very exciting that you are going to be listed. Was it in Q1?
Yes.
On NASDAQ, and where else did you say?
So we're looking at a dual listing in Q1, starting with the London Stock Exchange, and potentially the NASDAQ.
Not bad, not bad. Be ready for financial reports.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. What's the valuation, is Daniel asking here? What's the valuation of your company?
It's significant.
Expected, he's saying.
Yeah, I won't punch the numbers today, but if anybody's interested in that aspect of it, you can certainly reach out on our website, and we'll be happy to field any questions around that.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you very much, Sakhib and Kevin. Very exciting. And also the good news for the audience is that we will continue having some EVC talk sessions with the proof of trust. So we will be able to get much more into depth with their solution, because today it was, I guess, an introduction to your solution, your marketplace, a lot of information, which we'll be able to understand much better all the details, and even also with the European Commission, there will be much more. It's been 2.5 hours now. Again, thank you so much to Sakhib and Kevin, the proof of trust, to the European Commission. We had Joao, Robert, Saida, Kevin, Saki, Pierre, Alan, Julian, I hope I remember all the names. We had Maria from Inetum also. Amazing afternoon. Thank you so much to everyone.